So, good morning, and thank you all very, very much for coming here today. We've got a lot of things that we want to cover, and I want to get through them very, very quickly. I want this time to be valuable for you. And I want to share with you a couple of things, some of the things that we're doing at Century 21 Masters and some of our agents are doing that are helping them excel in the marketplace. Write this down. Last year, the average agent in our firm, last year, the average agent in our company that had been with the company a year or more earned $100,000 or more. The average agent. Of those agents, 21 of them earned $125,000 to $850,000 with 0 REO listings taken. 0. None. Now, they sold some listings of other agents, but they themselves had no REO listing accounts at all. And what I wanted to try and do this morning is kind of talk about some of the things that they did, that they put together, the systems that we have in our company that helps agents move from point 1 to point 2 to point 3 and so on, so that they can have a spectacular year regardless of the marketplace. But before I start, who wants this $100?
I'm going for it.
Who wants this $100? Who wants the $100? There you go. Good job. Give her a big hand. So let me ask you guys a question. Why didn't some of you jump up and run up here when I raised my hand and said, who wants this $100? Why didn't you do that?
I couldn't hear you.
You couldn't hear me? Okay. All right. So next time I'll speak louder.
Because I thought there was a trick.
Because you thought there was a trick? Okay. She pushed you out of the way. All right. What happens is that for many, many reasons, generally ego, we don't do certain things. We don't get up. We don't door knock. We don't phone canvas. We don't learn scripts and dialogues. We don't introduce ourselves to people. We don't follow up on calls or leads for many, many reasons. So I wanted to take this and make the point of the first thing that we've got to learn, write this down, is you've got to take action. Write down, you've got to take action. The first thing that needs to be done to do business in high volume in any marketplace is you must take action. I wrote down here, the difference between great real estate agents and everyone else is the great ones take action. And you know what? They don't just take action, they take massive action. The agents that we're going to see later on today are agents that have taken massive action over time. Massive action. I wrote down here, they take action in all areas of their life. Action is the key to success. I found most people who fail to achieve what they want in life fail for a lack of action. They fail for a lack of action. Second thought, write this word down, persistence. Write down the word persistence. We need to learn the art of not taking no for an answer when yes is still possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we give up too soon. We don't ask enough, and we give up way too soon. I wrote down here, 44% of all salespeople quit trying after the first call. Write that thought down. 44% of your competitors quit trying after the first call. I wrote down here, 24% quit after the second call. 14% quit after the third call, and 12% quit after that quit trying to sell their prospect after the 4th call. That means if you add all that up, 94% of all salespeople quit after the 4th call. Yet statistically it's proven that 60% of all sales are done after the 4th call. So 94% of your competitors are quitting just before the money's to be made. Just before the money's to be made. So here's a question. How many deals in the last 6 months have you not done, have you lost from the lack of following up? How many deals? Write it down. Last 6 months. A phone call you didn't return, a call you didn't make, a door you didn't knock, a past client or sphere that you decided, okay, this week I'm going to call past client and sphere, and when you got through the first 10 of them, 2 of them are disconnected phone numbers. And 2 of them told you, wow, I just listed my house and I just sold my house. How many deals did we lose from not following up enough? Now, let me ask, and take that number, multiply it times $10,000. Because every transaction, on average, in most of our marketplaces, is worth between $10,000 and $12,000. Some of you, I know, sell higher priced properties, and that might be worth $25,000 or $30,000 or $40,000, huh? But at least $10,000. So if you didn't follow up on 3 deals and lost 3 deals, that's $30,000 in the last 6 months that you lost. Think about that. Let me ask you this question. In the last 6 months, how many deals have you lost from over following up? Huh? How many deals have you lost from over following up? Write this down. Whenever you ask anyone for anything, remember the following. SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. SW, 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 SW. You have to keep asking until you get a yes. You have to keep asking until you get a yes. I wrote down here, this is a numbers game. You cannot skip steps. Let me illustrate what I mean by you cannot skip steps. We have anybody here that are math majors or engineers? Math majors, engineers, other than Pablo? With a double major in engineering. So here's a question. In math, can you do calculus or even algebra if you don't know how to add or subtract? So if you don't know how to add or subtract, can you do higher math? The answer is what? No. Say no. No. Boy, I'm going to wake these people up. Okay? You can't do it. If you don't know your multiplication tables, can you do higher math? The answer is no. So what we have to do is we have to build on our skills along the way. Real estate agents tend to want to skip a couple steps along the way and go from, well, I've never sold a 27-unit apartment building with mixed-use commercial and there's a gas station involved with it. I've never done one of those. I've been in business about 6 months. I think I'll try one of those transactions. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? You need to start with the basics. You need to learn the basics and build on that from there. I wrote down the next thought. Practice. Practice. Practice, drill, and rehearse. One of life's realities is that major improvements take time They don't just happen overnight. Major improvements take time. They don't just happen overnight. I wrote down here, don't shortchange yourself by not being ready when your opportunity comes your way. So, what do I mean? Let me ask you a question. You have a listing appointment tonight. You get ready for your listing appointment. It's a $450,000 condominium in a normal complex. You get all you do your pre-listing packet, you get all your paperwork ready, you know what to say and how to say it, and you get all the things that need to be done, right? Everybody with me?
Yep.
Now, just before you go on the appointment, you find out that that person that you're going to meet is the person in charge of a major corporation, and she's going to be giving out, and they're doing a move. A number of people are moving into the area, and a number of people are moving out of the area. So she's in human resources, and she's in charge of those moves. And she's able to give those leads out. Do you change your listing presentation? Do you?
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but do you?
Yes.
There's the problem. Because if you go on the appointment and you don't know what this person is, and we meet these people all the time, and because we don't pre-qualify and we don't get the information that we need to before the appointment, we go on the appointment and we, a lot of times, unfortunately, wing it, and we end up finding out later that this person is in charge of 40 or 50 moves, and had we done a better job. My point here is you need to be doing a great job at a great level for every single client you do business with, no exceptions, nothing. That's what I mean by you need to be ready at all times. You need to know what to say. You need to know how to say it. You need to know your marketplace. You need to know what's going on. That's where we miss the boat. That's where the opportunities slip through our fingers. I wrote down here, you need to make a commitment to keep getting better and better every single day. One of my favorite thoughts. Somewhere, someplace, someone is practicing. And when you meet them, they will beat you. Somewhere, someplace, someone is practicing. Whether it's in sports, whether it's in Olympics, whether it's a basketball game, whether it's a hockey game, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's in real estate. Somewhere, someplace, someone is practicing. And when you meet them, they will beat you. Okay, let's move on. The extra mile. Write down the extra mile. The extra mile. To be a great salesperson, we must set ourselves apart from our competitors, and we need to go the extra mile. Well, let me ask you a question. Has there ever been a time where you told a client that you were going to get their information for them, you would call them back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you didn't call them back at 2? Has there ever been a time? Sure. Has there ever been a time when you told the client you would be at their house at 1 o'clock for a listing appointment, and you showed up a little late? Does that ever happen? Come on. We're real estate agents. Has there ever been a time where you said you were going to call back a client and lost their card for a couple days and then decided you didn't call them back because you felt funny about calling them back? You want to set yourself above your competitors. You want to set yourself up so that you're completely different and do it where it's pretty much cost-free. Say yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. All you need to do is those 3 things. Show up 15 minutes early for an appointment. You will then stand out from all other real estate agents, because most real estate agents are running in 10 or 15 minutes late for the appointment. So if you show up 15 minutes early, you park your car out front, you look down the street one way, you look down the street the other way, you check out what's going on in the neighborhood, you've cruised the neighborhood to find out what other signs have come up in the last 24 hours that maybe you don't know about, so that when you walk into the property, you know everything that's going on in the marketplace. Now you've put yourself ahead of that particular client. When you tell a client that you're going to call them back at a certain time, call them at that time. You will have no competition. In this business, that's all it takes to go the extra mile. That's all it takes. And then I wrote down here, communicate with your listings and buyers on a weekly basis. But Neil, what do I tell them? What do I tell my buyers? What do I tell my sellers? Simple thought we teach our agents. When you went on the listing appointment, you told them what the comps were, right? Told them what was going on in the marketplace, told them everything. Next week when you call them to give them an update, run your CMA for that week. Tell them what was listed, what was sold, what went pending. That's your update. Any people that showed the property, you can do that. If you have the setup on your website where you can get the information from the web, let's do it that way. Then the following week, do exactly the same thing. Call them, give them the information. Okay, in the last week, this many houses got listed, this many houses got sold, this many houses went pending. It's all people really want to hear. They don't need anything super duper special. That's all the information we need to give our clients. What they want and need from us is to be touched on a weekly basis. You will put yourself head and shoulders above the crowd by doing that. I wrote down here, one of the ways that our agents make a lot of money is they make themselves unstoppable. Write down, being unstoppable. Being unstoppable. The truth is, in this business, we will be discouraged, right? Say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There will be times when we don't feel like doing what we're supposed to be doing when we're supposed to be doing it. So I wrote down this question. How easy is it to stop you? How easy is it to stop you? How hard are you to stop? I wrote down here, we'll prospect 3 hours a day for 2 weeks and we won't get a listing. Will you continue or will you stop? I wrote down, we'll present 4 offers, and we won't get anything through. Will you continue or will you stop? We show property to 4 buyers this month and all of them decide not to buy. Will you continue or will you stop? One of the best stories I have on this subject. Who's heard the name Schwartz? Wait, I forgot his first name.
Don.
No.
Steve.
No, sorry. Starbucks.
Ed.
Howard Schultz. Thank you. In Howard Schultz's first book, the title I think is One Cup at a Time, is a story of how he built the Starbucks organization. And today, this is an amazing story for those of you that don't know. He started in the projects in New York City as a kid in a rental, and ended up today, and he's still a young man with many, many things left to do, with a couple $2 billion in his lifetime, okay? When he was first starting with the idea of Starbucks, he needed to raise $1.7 million to create his first store. So he went out and made presentations to people who had money, trying to raise the $1.7 million. And he made presentations and presentations and presentations and presentations and presentations. And in fact, he made 230 presentations to raise the $1.7 million. So the question I always ask, I ask myself and I ask others, is when would you have stopped? At 20? 20 presentations is a lot. How about 50? 50 is pretty terrific. How about 100 presentations? Well, when I got to 100 presentations, I would say, you know what? I tried this. I gave it the old college try, but here I am. I didn't get it, so I'll go on and do something else. 230 plus presentations before he was able to amass the $1.7 million that he needed to open the first store. The rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. Now, he didn't know he was going to be Howard Schwartz, the $2 billion owner, worth $2 billion owner of Starbucks Corporation. He didn't know that. But he had a dream. He had a belief. He had his set of goals. He had what he wanted to do. Did he get up every morning and want to make a presentation? What do you suspect? Yeah. No. Every morning, all 237 of them? Please, okay? At some point, you start running into a wall. The key here is you have to continue. You have to be unstoppable. You have to find that reason that propels you and throws you out of bed every morning, especially on the days you don't want to. It's easy to do this on the days we want to. Very easy to get up, to get excited, to go out, to do it. It's not so simple on the days we don't want to. That's what we need to work on. Paul Meyer says, 90% of those who fail are not actually defeated. They simply quit. They simply quit. When you went to high school, you went to college, we all had dreams and desires. I don't know you, I know a few of you. I would suspect that, just by statistics, most of us, our dreams when we got out of college or high school were pretty lofty. We were going to change the world, or we were going to make a lot of money, or we were going to live on the beach, or we were going to do these things. And I would suspect that maybe some of us haven't achieved all those goals at this time. You need to have the dream. You need to have the why. When you know the why, the how is much easier. You will be discouraged. There will be days when you don't want to do this. I wrote here, it happens, so what? The biggest two words that I use for me is when something hits me, we get discouraged, it's not working the way we want to. It happens, and then so what? Now we got to figure out another way to do this. I'm a company that didn't want to lead its agents down the REO path. I've been in the business 40 years now. I've seen this 3 times. Agents get into the REO business. They ramp up. Some of them make some decent money pretty quickly. It's very exciting. It's very sexy. It's, oh my gosh. You know, I hear these agents tell me when they turn their computer on and it lights up and they have, 3 or 4 assignments from one of these companies. They do this little dance in their office and they're very, very excited. We chose not to go in that direction. As a company, it was a conscious decision. And it was a very difficult time when the REO agents were getting the listings, and we were a listing company, and we weren't getting the listings, because our job was to go out and get them one at a time. This goes back in 2007. So sometimes you have to move, sometimes you have to shift, sometimes you have to see what's going on in the marketplace. So what we did is we went to the REO agents that were getting this business, and we said, I have a great idea. You have so many listings. Why don't you let us hold open house for you? We'll hold open house. We went out and made 2,500 open house signs that said bank-owned on them. Ugly yellow bank-owned signs. Remember those out there? Okay? We gave them out to the agents. And we went out, and every weekend we'd have 25, 35, 45 listings that other brokers, we were showing their property. This is 2007, 2008. We did just as much business in 2007 selling somebody else's listings as we did in 2006 and 2005 doing our own listings. Sometimes you have to change gears. Sometimes you have to look at things in a different way. Now, fortunately, it worked for us, and our agents had done really, really well not handling REOs and working on expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold. So it was a very, very powerful thing. So I guess my point here is things will happen. You will get discouraged. So what? Move on. I wrote down the next thought here is attitude. Write down attitude. How you feel about where you are in life. I wrote down, if you don't like where you are right now, you need to change it. One of my favorite sayings is, you are where you are right now because it's okay with you. Because I guarantee you, if it wasn't okay where you are right now, you'd change it. If you ever had one of those moments where you say, that's it, I've had it, I'm never doing that again, or I'm going in that direction. Have you guys ever had one of those moments? Say yes.
Yes.
It's an attitude. Changes in a heartbeat. It changes in a heartbeat. It's up to you. It's a choice. I wrote down, a good attitude may not be everything. A good attitude may be the only thing, yet it's a great start. We've got to have a great attitude. What I want to talk about right now are the 4 activities I think that you need to focus in on. These are the things that we focused our company on over really the last 24 months. And they've been huge in helping us get to where we are. So let's write this down. Go through the numbers with me, if you will. So first of all, write down past, client, and sphere. Okay? One of the activities you need to be working on is work on your past, client, and sphere. So you need to determine how many people you have in your past, client, and sphere. So you need to get that information. You need to get the name, the address, and the phone number. The typical real estate agent I talk to in our company is running about 200, 250 past, client, and sphere that they have name, address, phone number of, and email address. And that's critical today. Let me remind you, you need to be getting their email addresses going forward, just like you would get their phone numbers. It's that important that it's a great way to communicate with them. So, past, client, and sphere. So here's what we do. We call, and here's our suggestion, is to call and email all your COI, your past clients, your leads generated from this last year, okay? And work with them. So we're going to call them. Let's back up a second. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to set up to email them once a week. So write that down. Email weekly. Email weekly. Something free, timely, and informational. Don't send a bunch of just listeds out, okay? You'll just bore them to death. Take an article from MSN, from CNN, from AOL, wherever you get it. Take an article or something timely and informational. Get on Active Rain if you're not on Active Rain. There's a lot of good things on there. So what you want to do is email them weekly, something like that. You want to mail something to them, a just listed or just sold, on a monthly basis. And then you want to call them every other month. So if you do this and you have 250 people, we've proven that those 250 people will give you 10% of your business. 10% of that number will translate into business for you over a period of 12 months. It'll either be directly or indirectly. So if you've got 250 people, you'll do 25 transactions from that, either directly or indirectly from that. All right? So that's the first phase of the things that you're supposed to do. The second thing is going to see expireds. Now, not expireds on the phone. Expireds at the door. Most agents, here's the difference. A lot of agents that work expired listings are calling expired listings, and they're competing with 30, 40, 50 agents on any expired call that they're making. But what I found is most real estate agents are kind of lazy. So what happens is that if you go to the door, you eliminate a lot of competition. So if you have 40 agents calling on the phone, you end up with 4 or 5 that show up on the door. Does that make sense? So you use your scripts and your dialogues at the door with those people. So you go see 5 expireds a day, write down 5 expireds a day. And you do that, there are, over the first quarter, there are 60 work days. Okay? 20 work days a month for 3 months. So write that down. So that's 300 properties. So you're going to go see 300 expireds over the next 3 months at the door, face to face. Now we know that 30% of those people are going to be home. So you're actually going to talk to 90 expireds at the door. So let me ask you a question. Who here works expireds? Okay, so there's half a dozen of you. If you were to go talk to 90 expireds over the next 90 days, how many listings do you think you might take? Jennifer, do you feel for that? 5 or 6, Bill?
Probably 7.
7 or 8, okay. Okay. Any others that work expireds? Okay, so if you go see 90 expireds, you'll end up with 7, 8, 5 or 6 listings on that. So write that number down. We'll come back to that in just a second. So now we have, so if we have 6 listings taken, and if we said 3 sell, does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. So we have 3 transactions there. Now, let's talk about previews. Going to preview property. Now, who here previews on a regular basis? Wow. Okay. So here's what we suggest. This is what a lot of our agents do, is they preview 5 houses a day, 5 days a week. And if you do that, that's 60 work days. That means you're going to have previewed 300 houses. Now let me ask you guys a question. Those of you that have seen houses, those of you that preview houses, those of you that have shown property, those of you that have gone to put your lockbox on a piece of property, when you've done that, has there ever been a time when you've picked up a lead or a client from doing that? Yeah? Have you ever sold that person a property or listed a property because of that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's the thought. If you were to do this with 300 properties over the next 3 months, how many leads do you think you might generate during that period of time? How many leads? Give me a guess.
20.
20 leads? 10%, so 30 leads? Okay. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? See, because what's going to happen is when you're previewing property, you're doing a couple things. You're learning product knowledge. Remember I told you to be ready for the listing, to be ready for the opportunity? When you go on a listing appointment, and you've seen 300 properties in your general area over the next 90 days or so, how knowledgeable of that neighborhood and that area you're going to be? Pretty knowledgeable, right?
Yes.
So you're going to know what's happening, what's selling, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the idea, is when you go on a listing appointment and you're sitting there with the client, and you're saying to the client that your house is worth $400,000, and the client says, yeah, but down the street, Johnny sold his house for $450,000, and my front yard looks a little nicer than Johnny's. And you say, yeah, you're right, but have you ever seen the inside of that house? The guy says, well, no, I've never been in the inside. I just know that when I drive by, the outside isn't as nice as mine. Well, let me tell you. I've been in that house when it was listed about 5 months ago. And when you go inside, it has marble entry. It has gorgeous wallpaper. The kitchen's got all top-flight stainless steel appliances in it. Berber carpet throughout. When you open up the back doors and walk out into the backyard, it's got this waterfall that flows into the pool. The house is absolutely gorgeous. You know, and Mr. Jones, you have the original green shag carpet.
It's coming back.
You can only have this conversation with people if you've previewed property. You know what's going on in the marketplace. So the benefit is product knowledge, and the side benefit is you'll do 4, 5, 6 transactions a quarter because of that. Okay, the next thought. So we've done our past client sphere of influence. We've gone and seen those. We've previewed 300 houses. We've gone to see 300 expireds and have talked to 90 of those people. But we've driven up to the house. We've driven up to 300 expireds and 300 previews. The next activity that these agents do on a general basis in our company is they door knock 10 houses around each property. Think about it. 300 and 300 is 600. And then you door knock 10 around each one. That means you'll door knock in the first quarter 6,000 houses. 6,000 houses. Now we know that only 30% of those people are going to be home. But you'll get to talk to 1,800 people. Let me ask you a question. If you were to talk to 1,800 people, would you do some business?
Yes.
If you talk to 1,800 people, you're going to do some business. Somebody's going to want to buy and somebody's going to want to sell. So you have an opportunity to do business in this market. It's not REO business. It's not sexy. It's not fancy. It just works when you do. This system isn't for everyone. Guaranteed. This system isn't for everyone. But there's nothing easier than this system. This is so simple. It makes sense. I really don't totally understand why everyone's not doing it. But I will share with you, the agents in our company that are doing it over time are the agents that are earning, like I said, on average $100,000 in the company, over a year in the company, and then there's 21 of them without any REO business, between $125,000 and $850,000 GCI last year. So actually, these people did this for the last 2 years in a row. Very possible, very, very can be done.